So I'm gonna do something extremely different that I'm not privy of, but Auntie told me that it was necessary that I gave my testimony in specific instances in my life. And I'm obedient to Auntie. When Auntie speak, you get that Auntie to like, hey, I need you to do something. You do what Auntie said, because Auntie got your best interest at heart. So, boom. Now, a lot of stuff I've been kind of holding off on because when the book come out, about my life and not even about all the crazy stuff, but when the book come out, I didn't want to give too much before it was time. So, boom. I'm 19, barely 19, like fresh off of 18, right after my 19th birthday. Not far off from my 18th year graduation. I'm riding with some buddies, and we get in a situation where we attempt to take something from a very important man of which we were not aware of, right? So, boom, I get locked up. A little small county in the south. It's funky, Situation make the news. It hit grand national news. It's funky, okay? So I go to this county, waiting for sentencing, going through booking, waiting, to see what the situation is going to be. We get the charges, we get the Miranda, we get the what is it? When you the motion of discovery, we get the whole thing, and we waiting to see if this situation is finna go to trial. So mind you, I'm sitting in the county, and in this county, in this little small town, I'm not gonna give too much because everything is gonna be in the book. But in this county, in this little small town, the jail was like a very old jail, like a very very old jail, and so the structure, the architecture of the jail was designed where the windows were like a fog window. So you could not see out of the window and you couldn't get any sun in the window. And then we were not permitted to go outside under any circumstances. So I'm sitting for like a year waiting, going back and forth to court for about a year. I got co-defendants, charge partners, and they putting the situation off. They trying to make it work out in their favor, which I understand, I comprehend. But the bond at that time was like 250,000. And my people like, look, we gonna get you a lawyer, cause you still a baby and you stupid. We're gonna get you a lawyer, but your ass finna have to sit in it. You finna to have to sit in it. You gonna have to wear this one. So boom, I'm sitting in the county for a year. Finally get sentenced and finally get my time. And the district attorney had made it a mandate that I was to serve prison time. Uh, Now, mind you, the charges were trumped so high, because the situation was so funky, and the fact that I was a young African American female, and in such a county, and they had done such a thing that had been so uh, uh, globally publicized that it was a requirement that they wanted blood. So for about a year, waited to get sentenced, and so about a separate year waited to go to be shipped in or transported to a prison system, because at that time it was so many people going back and forth to jail that they didn't have beds at the prison. So they typically, if you had under a certain amount of time, like if you had over 6 years, you were transported to a prison. But if you had under 6 years, I don't care if you had 5 years and 11 and a half months, you were going to sit there. So boom, I had 8 years. So for a whole entire year after that, um, I had to wait. Now, mind you, there was no sun like at this facility. I did not see the actual physical sun for 2 years. I was pale, and the food that they fed us was like mystery meat. And very little vegetables, you know what I mean, very little fruit. But I had a spouse at the time who would, periodically send me money. So even when I ate different stuff, it was junk food, different, chocolate, junk, sodas, you know what I mean? Just a whole bunch of junk and stuff. So I wound up going through like a bunch of abdominal issues, like, the system, the internal, my stomach system was kind of just cranky, but I was an athlete, so I exercised constantly, and I went crazy on it because my mind, one thing about anybody that's been in jail, they can tell you that when you sitting in a situation where you got to sit in your own mess, it'll drive you crazy if you don't utilize whatever energy source that you have to rise above whatever it is that you're feeling and going through. So I'm losing family members, friends are dying on the street, people getting killed, people getting shot. I'm hearing about situations and it's just like so much. And then I'm barely 20, I'm not even 21. My mother up and moved out of the state to the north to take an opportunity for work. So I'm dealing with all this different stuff or whatever. So that's weighing heavy on the body structure. I'm not getting sun. I'm not getting water. I'm going through. You know what I'm saying? So, boom, get to the prison system and wind up finding out that I was extremely malnourished. I'm talking about, I was probably about 90 pounds. So they go and they figure out what's going on, you know what I mean? And they come back and they let me know, like, okay, you have hyperthyroidism and you are diabetic. And my father's mother was actually diabetic, so it kind of was a generational thing that ran in my family. But even then, I'm like, whatever medication y'all putting these people on for diabetes and psych meds and all that stuff, don't even worry about it. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying? So I would get in the gym because they had a basketball gym and they would have recreation outside. So I would just work out, go crazy. But even in the prison system, the food was not nutritional. It was also the mystery meat. But then I had a job in the kitchen where whatever little vegetables that did come through, um, I kind of had a greater pick from that. So um, by the grace of the Creator, I was able to heal my body well enough to remain sustainable because come to find out what I didn't know was, had I not been so young, a lot of the people who was in the very same situation, and meaning in terms of imprisonment and malnutrition and, a lack of clear, clean water, what they would call hard water. A lot of those people was bad off. You know what I mean? A lot of older people, but by the grace of the Creator, I just was able to remain and sustain self within that time. So, boom, I go and for some reason or another, I had signed up for dental, and I go to the dentist, and I needed a filling. So they do this filling. Kind of find out many years later, um, they do this filling, and when they put this filling in my teeth many years later, I find out that the fillings are creating some form of toxins and bacteria in the body, where the fillings that they were putting in our mouths were actually metal fillings that was lead. They were putting lead in our bodies. By the grace of the Creator that I am here, Auntie told me to do this, and I'm extremely nervous right now, but I'm gonna do it because I feel like it's necessary, it's mandatory for people to kind of understand the extent of why purpose is my purpose on purpose. So, I ate a lot of junk food at the time, um, and I stayed in a lot of trouble because I always had this attitude where I'm already in jail, so what you gonna do, lock me up? So I had a really bad attitude at that time. I had a really bad big chip on my shoulder, and I was really, really not a bad kid. I was really a good person. I was really intellectual, but people picked with me for that reason a lot, as do now. It's just something that has been that way most of my life, most of my adult life. So I would get in trouble all the time. And then, it was called Unit 3. So in Unit 3, you didn't get sun. You didn't go outside. Your recreation was in the actual dorm. You know what I'm saying? So I would stay in there a month at a time, 2 weeks at a time, 3 weeks at a time, 4 weeks at a time. And so in a 4 year period, 3.5, 4 year period, I would probably say I did about half a year in solitary confinement. You know what I'm saying? Well, it's already solitary confinement, but solitude within confinement. So there was less nutrition there. The food was probably worse there because they had a separate kitchen in that area. So um, whenever I was released, I'm still not knowing how to go and handle the issues in terms of what's going on with the pancreas, what's going on with the liver, how to take care of the body, how to get the proper water, how to get the proper exercise, So life hit me when I left. And I mean, I wasn't ready for life for real. I'm barely 21, 22, 23, and I had just done a great stint of time. As I said, a lot of my friends were going to college. I was going to court, so I didn't even know anything about life. I didn't even know anything about life yet. So the life experiences that was hitting me in terms of like financial struggles, these struggles, all of my friends had figured out how to balance credit cards. They was having kids. They had checking accounts. They had, banking accounts. They had apartments. They had cars. They had, things in their name. They were starting businesses, and I was not prepared. Nor did I have anyone in my life to say, hey, okay, when you get out, it's going to be this situation. It's going to be that situation. It's going to be that situation. It's going to be that situation. And you need to handle this, and that, like this, and that. I didn't have that. So I ran into bad partners who was kind of trying to take advantage of situations. It was just, I hadn't really learned all of the things that I was going to need to know and I was going to need to have, because with a purpose, that was a purpose, as a mission on purpose, I was going to need those life lessons. But by the grace of the Creator, it was a mandate that I experienced certain instances of karma that it was a requirement, a mandatory, that my struggles did not kill me. They were not going to kill me. They were not supposed to kill me. But certain karmic lessons that was attached to the day that changed my life, that sent me to prison, were impending. They were mandate. They were a responsibility. They were a requirement to carry out. Because what I didn't know was, shortly after that situation in sentencing, the man wound up, dying or whatever. And so uh, it was a karmic life cycle that needed to play out, and largely to my responsibility to the situation. And that's one of the main things pertaining to youngsters. When I see them and I see they rowdy, I just try to grab them and get them together. Like, look, man, don't mess your name up. Because when you mess your name up, you change the game. It's nothing as valuable as a good name, a pure name, a clean name. And there were so many brothers and sisters that I had grown up with who had either lost their life or lost their clean name. Both, a lot of them. Both. So that was that. Now, in the avenue of creativity, that was the inspiration for that. That is the inspiration for that. In the matter of the notion of leadership for youth, that is also the inspiration of that. in the matter of holistic healing and alchemical healing, that is also the mandate and the responsibility to that. Um, so, these life experiences, those life experiences have not been easy. And I know a lot of people like, why you ain't got it together yet? Why you ain't got this? You supposed to have that. You supposed to do, and it's like, I have not really been in a position where I was really, 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 really set up to succeed. These are not excuses. These are facts. And so, but I'm at a greater position now because I've made some of the proper friends. Shout out to my soul tribe. Y'all know I love y'all. Shout out to my readers. Shout out to my oracles. Shout out to my teachers. Shout out to my healers. Shout out to my businessmen and women. Shout out to uh, um, my coaches. Because I built a dynamic team off of nothing because the body was so broke. A lot of people really presumed me to have met a specific demise, but by the grace of the Creator, it was a responsibility to remain, to learn, because just like I had to sit in that trouble, I had to also separately sit in a separate trouble to learn everything is on the precedence of timing. The universe is a basis or a balance of timing. Everything is calculated and orchestrated in the uh, situational timing. So